Just one charge, and the entire situation changes in an instant. It isn't the fastest hunter, but the one with the greatest endurance that controls the chase. The spotted figures race forward, working together like a tireless living machine. African wild dogs, masters of strategy, where every stride is part of a carefully calculated plan. Can any prey stay ahead of a pursuit that seems to have no end? African wild dogs are among the most efficient predators on the savanna. Each adult typically weighs around 70 pounds, and rather than relying on individual strength, they hunt in packs with tight coordination and remarkable endurance. Every individual has a clear role during long pursuits. In the wild, their success comes from discipline and teamwork. Along the edge of the dry savanna, a pack of African wild dogs begins the hunt. A hunting team with nearly flawless coordination. As soon as they spot their target, they quickly spread into formation, relying on remarkable endurance and precision to keep up the pursuit, forcing the warthog to race at full speed toward the safety of its familiar refuge. The burrow, which seems like the last possible escape, becomes the warthog's shelter. It backs deeper inside and turns to defend the entrance. But the hunt doesn't end there. The pack doesn't back away. Instead, they begin digging and persistently disturbing the burrow, steadily increasing the pressure within the confined space. The sense of safety gradually fades, leaving the warthog with only two choices: stay inside or risk making a dash for it. The decisive moment comes quickly. The warthog bursts from the burrow, hoping to escape, but the pack has already closed off every route. The wild dogs move in together, leaving no opening and quickly bringing the situation under control. The hunt is over, and the pack secures a shared meal. In the wild, what seems like the safest escape can sometimes become the place where the greatest challenge begins. At the edge of a shallow watering hole, a warthog is cornered. Behind it, a pack of African wild dogs tightens its formation. Ahead lies the still water, where another predator waits. The space grows smaller, and every possible escape becomes more uncertain. The pack of African wild dogs steadily applies pressure, forcing the warthog closer to the water's edge. Beneath the murky surface, a crocodile remains almost motionless, quietly waiting for the right moment. Caught between two threats, the warthog stands its ground at the very edge of its last boundary. Then the water suddenly erupts. In one swift movement, the crocodile surges forward, catches the warthog, and drags it away from the bank. On the bank, the pack of African wild dogs comes to a halt, watching the opportunity slip out of reach, an outcome they never expected. After a long pursuit, the pack of African wild dogs spreads out along the riverbank to drink. Their breathing is heavy, their bodies drained of energy, and their alertness briefly eases, a rare moment of rest between relentless hunts. The water suddenly erupts. From the murky water, a crocodile suddenly surges forward, grabs hold of one wild dog as it lowers its head and pulls it away from the edge. The situation changes in an instant. The pack responds instantly. Several wild dogs rush in, pulling together to bring their companion back. One side driven by the force of the water, the other by the strength of the pack working as one. After several tense moments, the trapped wild dog breaks free and makes it back to shore. But it struggles to move normally afterward, a visible sign of the lasting toll that can come from surviving such a harsh environment. The hunt may be over, but the challenges never truly end. The cost of a single moment of lowered guard can stay with an animal throughout its struggle to survive. Across the vast Serengeti plains, where migrations stretch for hundreds of miles, the wildebeest is one of the largest and most resilient prey animals. A full-grown adult can weigh up to 500 pounds, with sharp horns that make many predators think twice. But against the collective intelligence of a pack of African wild dogs, size is no longer an absolute advantage. Amid the migrating herd, a pack of African wild dogs appears quietly. They run alongside the edge of the herd, watching closely before selecting their target, an adult that has become separated from the group. The pursuit begins. The wildebeest bursts into a powerful sprint, but it cannot maintain that pace for long. The pack splits into formation, with one group applying pressure from the front while the other keeps pace from behind, taking turns to maintain constant pressure. Time becomes the decisive advantage. As the wildebeest begins to slow and lose its rhythm, the pack quickly closes the distance. After a long pursuit, they successfully bring the situation under control, bringing the hunt to an end and earning a well-deserved meal. Across the arid landscapes, the oryx stands as a symbol of resilience and determination. A full-grown male can weigh more than 400 pounds, with long, sharp horns that make predators approach with caution. When a pack of African wild dogs spots its target, they spread out and circle in, gradually closing the distance. But this time, the prey doesn't run. The oryx stands its ground, lowering its head and pointing its long horns forward in a firm defensive stance. Its defensive stance is solid, leaving no obvious opening. One wild dog cautiously moves in to test the distance. The moment it gets close enough, the oryx swings its horns in one swift, decisive motion, forcing the challenger back. The pressure shifts immediately. In the end, the pack of African wild dogs retreats, leaving the oryx standing firm in the open. But this time, the pack of African wild dogs adjusts its strategy. They watch patiently before quickly selecting an oryx that has briefly let its guard down beneath the sparse trees, where visibility is limited. The pursuit begins immediately. In the denser terrain, the advantage shifts to the pack. They split into formation, taking turns moving in and pulling back, steadily pressuring the oryx within the confined space. Unable to maintain its defensive position, the oryx begins to slow, and the gap quickly closes. Its focus gradually fades under the constant pressure coming from multiple directions. As the oryx shows clear signs of fatigue, the pack quickly closes in. Their coordinated, decisive movements bring the encounter to its conclusion. The African wild dogs secure their hard-earned meal, demonstrating how adapting their strategy can change the outcome. Across the open grasslands, lions are fierce defenders of their territory. To them, African wild dogs are more than just competitors. They are rivals that must be driven away. Because of this, every time the pack enters the tall grass, it stays alert. But it takes only a single moment of lowered guard for the situation to change completely. And then it happens. From the dense grass, a lion suddenly bursts forward with explosive speed. The swift charge breaks apart the pack's formation, forcing the African wild dogs to scatter in every direction. One wild dog is quickly overwhelmed in the brief encounter. The rest of the pack is forced to retreat, keeping a safe distance from an opponent with greater strength and firm control of the territory. Within seconds, the encounter is over. The grassland grows quiet once again, but the signs of what happened remain, a powerful reminder of the invisible boundaries that shape life across the savanna. In the wild, strategy doesn't always determine the outcome. Sometimes, recognizing limits and retreating at the right moment is what allows an entire pack to survive. Across the grasslands, where herds of African buffalo move as a unified force, African wild dogs rarely confront them head-on. Facing an animal that can weigh nearly 1,000 pounds, every decision becomes far more cautious. Along the edge of the herd, the pack circles patiently, watching for an opening. Their goal is to find an individual that becomes separated or reacts too slowly. But even after isolating a target, the entire pack remains cautious. They don't rush in. Instead, they rely on a strategy of wearing the animal down, constantly moving, taking turns closing in and pulling back, forcing the buffalo to keep turning until its energy gradually fades. The pursuit continues for an extended time. As one buffalo begins to slow, the pack quickly closes in. Working together in coordinated turns, they steadily maintain pressure. After about 30 minutes, the buffalo can no longer continue, bringing the hunt to an end. Across this wild landscape, victory doesn't belong to the strongest. It belongs to those who know how to wait and turn time into their greatest advantage. Across the African savanna, encounters between African wild dogs and spotted hyenas are about more than competing for food. They are direct contests between two of the most highly organized carnivores in the wild. Unlike the speed and discipline of African wild dogs, spotted hyenas have powerful builds and some of the strongest jaws in the animal kingdom. They don't always rely on active pursuit. Instead, they often watch patiently, stay close behind, and wait for the right moment to gain the advantage. In many cases, spotted hyenas arrive just after a pack of African wild dogs has finished a long hunt. The difference in strength and the pressure of greater numbers quickly shifts the situation, forcing the wild dogs to retreat and leave behind the meal they had just earned. But the relationship is not one-sided. When a lone hyena becomes separated from the clan, an opportunity immediately appears. The pack of wild dogs shifts into an offensive formation, moving with agility, surrounding the hyena from multiple directions, and maintaining constant pressure. Rather than confronting the opponent head-on, they rely on speed and coordination to force the hyena onto the defensive. Under relentless pressure, the hyena is forced to retreat, searching for a way to break out of the encirclement. Across the vast savanna, there is no absolute ruler, only ever-shifting balances of power, where every species is both a hunter and one that may be forced to retreat. In this unforgiving environment, wild dogs do not dominate through individual strength. They survive through strategy, discipline, and the coordinated efforts of the entire pack. Every hunt is a test. Sometimes it ends in success, and sometimes it calls for a retreat. In the wild, it is not always the strongest that prevails, but the one that adapts. If this journey has kept you captivated, be sure to like and subscribe so you can continue exploring more stories from the wild.